So welcome everyone. I'm going to do a quick intro here for Fabian, and then I will let Fabian take over and dive in. So Fabian is the founder of a brand agency called Finian. The agency enables CMOs and founders who are facing a brand transformation to reposition their brands for growth through swift, strategic, verbal and visual brand clarity. Finian has been sought out by many companies such as Marriott International, Warner Brothers, Match Group, Honeywell, Kaplan, and many others. His thoughts on branding have appeared in publications like Forbes, Entrepreneur, The Washington Post. All three of his books became international Amazon bestsellers and turned into go-to resources for entrepreneurs and marketers alike, including me. So his work is amazing. Can't wait for this presentation. So I'll hand it over to you now, Fabian, and looking forward to digging in.
Cool, excellent. Well, thanks for the intro, Jen. I appreciate it. Very good. Let me start sharing my screen, and then we jump right into it. All right. Here we go. Cool, excellent. I assume that everyone can see my screen. Perfect. Good. Well, I told Craig that I got a complete new system with an amazing mic, and I just upgraded last night. And of course, now I'm on my AirPods because that didn't pan out. But at least you can see the screen, and that's wonderful, isn't it? Okay, cool, perfect. Well, it seems like we're going to be a pretty small group, which is great. It's great in the sense that afterwards, when I'm done with my with edutaining you, we can jump in and we can talk about your brand pain points and really make it very, very personal, which I always appreciate. All right, so I'm going to spend most probably around the next 35 minutes or so guiding you on how you can turn into an admired brand. May it be you, may it be your company, right? Without using any innovation or technology, which is interesting, right? Because the latest, the newest, the fastest, the most convenient, yet those are the types of companies that we like to create, and those are also the brands that all of us admire. But I am not going to talk about innovation. I'm not going to talk about technology. I'm not even going to talk about design for that matter. Instead, I'm going to talk about a new crop of companies that I got fascinated with that have absolutely no tech and no design innovation whatsoever. They actually sell so what commodity products. And these brands that we're going to talk about, they rely solely on creating an emotional connection with the customer. They win hearts through great brand thinking. They disrupt through branding. And of course, if they can do it, imagine what any startup, right, or really any company can learn from that. I see people are slowly coming in, but that's good. They're hopefully catching on really quickly. With all of these brands that I'm going to talk about today, the why behind the brand and the how they're doing what they're actually doing are both winning over the what they're actually providing. So to me, that is completely fascinating. It was fascinating enough that I went on a Harvard Business Review Fast Company Entrepreneur Inc. diet, and I tried to read through these magazines and sites and only find those types of companies, brands that don't win hearts through innovation, but through brand strategy. And I ended up filling 200 pages with only those, usually seen as rather boring type of brands. And by the way, Craig and the team of Growth University were kind enough to actually give all of you a signed copy of the book later on. So that's coming up later. So that's good to know for you as we go through this today. I distilled my findings into 8 traits. And if you infuse 1, 2, or however many you can of these traits into your brand continuously, right? You need to continuously do that. Then I wholeheartedly believe, or I would even say I know, that that you can turn into an admired, a more trusted, and a more standout brand. I will guide you through 6 of the 8 today, and then the rest you can catch up yourself. All right. The first and the overarching trait is story. So storytelling used to be advertising, right? So you had fake personas selling fake benefits, from the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s, right? And now, thanks to social media and a change in values, brand stories are real. Brand stories have to be real. Meet Fish People was probably a brand most of you don't know. And I'm trying to show a lot of brands that most of you don't know because I think that's more interesting. So Fish People, it's a commodity. They have no thrills, chowders, bisques, and bouillons, right? There's no celebrity chef. There's no packaging, design innovation. It's just fish stews in pouches to heat up. They're single serve, so likely you will be having dinner for one at home. You will be most probably staring at your laptop or your cell phone, or the cell phone that's the size of a laptop, right? And you will see the trace your fish code. And just because I say code, this is not what I call tech, right? You actually have to go to fishpeopleseafood.com and then you have to type in the code. But what happens thereafter is pretty magical. You meet the fisherman who put people in Fish People. So you may meet Stefano, who lifted your fish that you're eating in your stew out of the boat, right? It's literally from the batch of fish that's in your pouch. And he lifted it out of Ryan's boat. This is Ryan on a very photogenic day. And then you learn about the exact location your fish was caught in and the time that it was caught in. You learn about Ryan's boats, name being Sunset Charge. Both of them work on the Sunset Charge, right? I guess Stefano not because he's at the dock, but they work together. And there's plenty of crews, obviously, and there's plenty of fish in the sea, forgive my pun. And Fish People has different crews out there. So the next time you're actually going to pick up one of the packages and you plug in your new code, you're going to meet different people from different crews who put in your specific food that's in front of you. It's the most brilliant idea, right? It's the simplest thing to do. If you operate an organization based on people and on fish, and these two are the story, why not tell it, right? The minute that you plug in the code, you are hooked on the brand. You're hooked on a brand the minute that you eat an otherwise, standard seafood stew. And that's storytelling at its best. It's not creating a story. It's just simply telling the story that already exists. So what are the commandments if you want to derive your brand story, right? If you want to dig deeper into your brand story, obviously look back, right? Story is in your roots. Look back when you started your company, or if you work for a company, which I believe a lot of you are doing, interview the founders, right? Go back to the reasons for why the company was started. What was the dream? What was the vision? What did you want to change? Who did you want to affect, right? How did you want to run your business? What was really important to you? And most of the time, the story is in your roots, and it's most probably, ready to be uncovered, but people rarely go back. I would urge you to go back and look outside of your industry to re-energize your story. So who here would have ever studied a seafood brand, right? Get outside of your vertical. Don't read the same industry articles and study the same brands as everyone else. A great side effect if you do that, if you actually take inspiration from a brand in a different vertical, you're not copying the brand. Because no one will ever know that you got inspired by Fish People seafood for a tech company, right? And your story could actually turn into your entire brand's positioning. And that's where it really gets interesting, right? That's certainly true with the first case study. The story of where the fish comes from and the people that actually put the food in front of you, that's the entire positioning of the brand. Otherwise, there's no differentiator whatsoever, right? You can buy all kinds of fish stews that you can just quickly heat up. No differentiator. It's all about people and where the fish in your soup comes from. So what's your story, right? Think about that. It could be the one thing that actually makes you different. And then, you have to You have to weave it into everything you say and everything you do, right? Hit them over the head, right? Not just on the About Us page, not just on social, not just in your brochure or wherever, right? Everywhere. That is the reason why people come back to your offering, because they share these same values, right? So hit them over the head with your story. If it is your big differentiator, like it is the case with Fish People. All right. Another trait that I started noticing is exactly that, right? We talked about that idea of shared values. What if the values are actually bigger than the product or the service that you are offering? Fun little fun little note on Generation C, which are really the only ones we care about now, right? This is millennials, we don't care about them anymore. But Gen Z, 90% of them trust brands that share their values, and they only go back to those kind of brands, right? So they don't go back to anything else. So they are loyal to a fault. However, if they love your story and they love your offering, but they find out that it's inauthentic, they're gonna swipe left so quickly, you're never gonna gain the love again, right? I mean, it's over, right? But 90%, that's a pretty amazing number. And loyalty and trust, as you all know, right? That's what shared values create, and that's really what every business owner, every marketer, so badly ache for to gain with their brand. So here's another company that most of you most probably haven't heard of. I saw Danielle actually heard of Fish People, because her director of operations was formerly with Fish People. That is really, really awesome. That's fantastic. But Geyrhalter most probably no one heard of. I'm pretty sure no one heard of, unless some people lived in Germany, Austria, Switzerland, like myself, right? So Geyrhalter is from my home country, from Austria. That's where my accent comes from, and that's where Geyrhalter comes from. And they make handmade, long-lasting, easy to repair, very traditional footwear, right? I mean, you can see it on this shot. It's no design innovation or no technology whatsoever. They have 44 stores in Germany, Austria, Switzerland. The last I checked, it's a pretty good amount for a brand that sells very standard footwear. This is the CEO and founder. His name is Heini Staudinger. He seems to enjoy life quite a bit, and he does so because he freely speaks his mind. Heini boldly voices his opinions on all the things that usually CEOs don't talk about. It's hot topics like politics, religion, the economy. He condemns consumerism and he condemns capitalism, and is deeply entrenched within his company's philosophy. That is what the store is all about, right? And he, despite of running 44 shoe stores, right, condemns consumerism and capitalism. The company publishes a political newspaper. It's called Brennstoff, which translates in English into fuel. And just by looking at these two consecutive newspaper editions, the ones that I found quickly online here, number 36 and number 37, you don't need to be able to speak or read German to understand what this is all about, right? This is a very, very liberal political thinking. And here he is in an interview. The banner, which I enormously posted behind him, reads, "Rights to the people rather than the banks." And you can only imagine how this entrepreneur does not get along with politicians, right? And how he does not get along with banks. So when he actually needs funds to expand his operations, guess what happens? Thousands of people rush to crowdfund his company. He doesn't even know what to do with the money anymore. So now he's actually founding an academy, which makes so much sense because his entire business is based on values and is based on a strong belief. So one thing is for certain, right? And this is extremely important in my eyes, that values will always be bigger than a product. So if you have a product or service and you infuse honesty, right? You infuse values into the brand behind your offering, you will A, turn into a true brand, and B, you will sell more. Shared values sell more. But of course, you have to understand your customer. Our friend Heini, who we just met, would probably have a pretty hard time if he didn't understand his tribe, right? He would just be another struggling shoe store in the world of Amazon and Zappos, et cetera, et cetera. But if you, as a small team, if you have a strong belief, or if you as a founder have a strong belief, and you can infuse it into your brand, why not lead with that belief? And why not differentiate from all others? Why not make that belief something that other people that share those values can cling on to? And suddenly you have a tribe. And you can sell pretty much anything if you have those shared values, right? So your bold belief could actually turn into your brand's passion, and it could turn into your brand's future. All right, now let's go to something that everyone is fully aware of, right? Let's talk about something that you know everyone should showcase, but it's not easy to do right. Costs, right? Today's startups turned costs quite up a notch, right? So we had Tom's, we had Warby Parker, right? The whole buy one, give one. It turned from a noble mission, right, to a movement, and now it's kind of seen as a trick that many otherwise undifferentiated companies are just starting to use, and in my eyes, quite frankly, abuse, right? But here's one that did it the right way: Bombas. So that's a company that sells socks. There's no big innovation here, no tech, right? Why would we need yet another sock company? And here's the reason why. Because Bombas realized that socks are the #1 most requested item at homeless shelters. And that makes total sense, right? You and I can't go and donate our used socks to a Goodwill or a Salvation Army, right? I mean, it's not very hygienic. So people affected by homelessness have a hard time getting the one thing that they so desperately need, right? They live in socks, right, on the street. And since we all buy socks, right, by buying into the Bombas brand, we know we're doing something good with our purchase. And we know that it's directly related to the product we buy. We buy socks and they need socks, right? They give socks. So Bombas is further a brand that is, of course, playing by today's branding playbook, as you can see in the back here, right? As of today, they have donated in the back in front of you. I'm not speaking to a live audience. Who am I fooling, right? As of today, and that today was most probably 2 years ago when I looked at that number, they donated over 26 million socks to the homeless. So that's a significant number. So how can you insert costs into your venture to turn it into an admired brand? Well, you have to align your costs, your product, and your audience, right? The three of them need to authentically connect. And that's what Bombas does so very well. And you have to be honest, right? When you support a cause publicly as part of your brand, you have to do so transparently. And we talk about transparency in a second. And be certain that your cause is extendable enough, right, to expand with you as a product offering diversifies. That's interesting with Bombas. How is that going to keep going? I don't know, right? And last but not least, HR will love you, right, for making a cost an important component of your branding, because it will not only attract new talent, it will foster your entire company's culture. All right, here's a trade for a change that is super easy to implement. Just as easy as it sounds. Craft your entire brand around simple delight. Who heard of Poppin? I assume people heard of Poppin. Anyone? Poppin? Nothing's poppin'. Okay, all right. Okay, that's okay. Not yet, says Craig. That's right. Craig sees the future, and it will happen in the next 3 minutes. So Poppin realized that office supplies look really, really, really mundane, right? It all looks exactly the same. It's the same cheap, made in China, plasticky stuff, and it usually comes in 2 colors. It comes in black, and it comes in gray, right? And that's about it. And so Poppin said, well, that's easy. Why don't we just splash some color on it? And then any company can have their own color. And wouldn't that be great, right? If you entered a company that has the neon green logo, wouldn't it be nice if suddenly all 10 desks were filled with neon green stationery, calculators, and staplers? And wouldn't it be nice if Jesse's favorite color is pink? That's not politically correct. If Fabian's favorite color is pink, wouldn't it be great if Fabian can have his pink calculator, right? If he wanted to. So for the same price as the old boring products, right? That all have exactly the same color, they just basically said, well, let's put in a splash of color. It's a brilliant idea. There's no design innovation. I mean, color is not design, right? I mean, in that sense, right? The same old products, they just painted it in different colors. There's only one innovation. They chose to upgrade a boring commodity into a delightful brand. And as it goes with branding, you have to make sure to spread it across your brand language as well. So may I share with you the order confirmation I received when I purchased a pen and notepad from Poppin. I know it's super exciting. It actually is very exciting. So here we go. Let me read it to you because it's a little pixelated. Hi, Finian, which is not me, it's my company, but Finian and Fabian, I forgive them. So we're still good. Poppin, we're still good. Hi, Finian. Thanks for placing your order with Poppin. We know you and your Poppin stuff are really going to love each other. Right now, our packers are warming up and stretching so that no one gets hurt in the scurry to get your order packed up, shipped out, and delivered across your threshold so that this new chapter of your work happy life can begin. So exciting. As soon as the calisthenics are done, and for those of you who don't know what calisthenics are, I had to look it up the first time. Calisthenics are gymnastic exercises to achieve bodily fitness and grace of movement. So when that is done, we'll send you a link to track your order so you can keep tabs on it and get yourself ready for its arrival. So it's brilliant, right? But let's not forget, we're talking about a calculator or a $2 pen or a stapler that's in the mail for me. And so a couple hours later, of course, I get the tracking number. It goes like this. Hi, Finian. We know that you and your order are both incredibly excited to see each other. While in the throes of such anticipation, it's totally understandable to lose track of the details, so here they are. So now let's compare. You're ordering something on Staples. You get an order confirmation. What is the very first thing you do? You delete it, right? You're like, oh, good, check, right? I got an email from them. That means I ordered it. No need to read it. You actually read Poppin's emails because they're really funny. They bring a little bit of joy into your otherwise overstuffed inbox, right? I mean, I'm getting excited about a $2 plastic product just by reading that. And all it took was a delightful way of shaking up an entire industry that is just so very, very mundane. And so what Poppin is doing today was the obvious, right? They have expanded into office furniture, same color magic, right? And they design office spaces now, and it's the same thing. It's the whole idea of happy work life. So what are the delight commandments? And quite frankly, I really think that any of you should copy some of these because the world would be a better place if any company is a little bit more delightful. Right? There's nothing wrong with that. But if you're in a mundane segment, right, and if you start to showcase a literal, a figurative splash of color as part of your brand messaging, in a quiet or in a gray segment, it can go a long way and shake up a bored audience. I hope I don't have to do that with you. I don't know, I can't see everyone, but shake up a bored audience, right? See who is not having fun. Those are actually never getting anything exciting, right? In your audience, right? You never get the right email, they never get, like, nothing is happening that's exciting there. Do something fun out of nowhere, right? Like just a small gesture that no one expects. For instance, turn those sad automated communications like onboarding forms, right? Or auto emails of like, hey, thanks for subscribing, or whatever it is, right? Turn them into delight. How much time does it take you? Nothing, right? Just one nice sentence, and and the ROI that it creates is significant, right? How many newsletter emails does your company send out? And they're perfectly designed. They go through 14 rounds of copy editing, and then the open rate is like complete crap, right? And then how many automated emails do you send out? I don't know, like 200 a day, 2000 a day, depends on your company, right? What an amazing opportunity to do something delightful with those types of completely overlooked emails that your audience actually needs to read. All right, transparency. That's one of the 8 brand traits that I defined to turn into an admired brand. It is such a critical and such a smart trait to incorporate into your business, and you see it happening everywhere right now, right? Fortune 500s are slowly trying to do it. Every startup is trying to do it. You know, I mean, we live in times where brands and politicians alike are breaking our trust every hour on the hour, right? It's like it's always been that way, but now with social media, I feel like we know about it more, right? But if you decide as a company, as a brand, to lead with transparency, you have nothing to hide. You have to be exactly who you claim to be. And if I did not have a little Q&A after this, I would just watch this for the next half hour. But I just love it so much. But here is a company that does transparency really, really, really well. They do not play pretend. Everlane. I'm sure, I'm not going to ask who knows Everlane. Everyone knows Everlane, right? Everlane does so in an industry known for deception, the apparel industry, right? So in apparel, we're talking about child labor, employee abuse, unsafe working conditions, etc., etc. And Everlane came in and they said, you know what? We're going to be 100% human. They actually have a system to audit and rate their own factories. And they go through their factories, they rate them, they audit them, and now they're actually sharing that auditing system that they created for themselves with other apparel companies to make all apparel companies more humane. Everlane calls their way of operating radical transparency, which has been radically copied ever since. And there are many others that do that say that. But doing it like Everlane does is not easy, because they tell you the who, the why, the what of every single thing that they do and that you buy. And that's what makes it so radically transparent, right? They share the true cost of every single fashion piece that you buy. So they share how much goes into this particular sweater here, right? So the materials, hardware, labor, duties, transport, and then the true cost is actually 38 bucks. But by adding the profit and operations, they sell it for 88 bucks. And doesn't that feel great, right? Like this transparency immediately instills trust. But something even more magic happens. Over on the right, you will learn that other brands sell that exact same quality of garment for 190 bucks. And guess what happens at that moment? So many things. So first, you're like, you guys are great. I love the transparency and I trust you, so I'm going to buy this shirt, hopefully, right? That's the idea. And the second thing that happens is, wow, they're so much less expensive, yet it's the same quality. What an amazing way for a brand to say that their prices are reasonable, yet not come across as cheap. That is genius in my eyes. And that creates consumer love and trust immediately. So how does this transparency play out? And this is fascinating to me. Everlane had a cashmere cardigan, as pictured here. And because it was priced so reasonably and it was cashmere, it sold like hotcakes. It was the #1 best-selling item at Everlane, that particular cardigan. And then one day the brand sent out an email, which said in essence, and I'm paraphrasing here, thanks for making this cashmere cardigan a bestseller. And because of this, we have been able to lower our production costs, right? Makes sense. We produce more, the cost goes down. And we will now pass the savings of 25 bucks per cardigan onto you. 25 bucks per SKU. That's insanity, right? So imagine if you're any other manufacturer, way to make investors happy, right? 25 bucks per item of the bestseller, but not Everlane. This radical transparency creates consumer love immediately, right? So what are the commandments? Well, if you're that one company in your industry that leads with transparency, you are going to have a huge advantage. but there's no way to fake it. You can't fake transparency, right? I mean, it's impossible. If you go with trust, obviously you have to go all the way. There's no turning back on this. People will trust you, and this is the big thing, right? People will trust you by saying, I'm going to be transparent. So if you're a startup and you don't even have a product, but you just open your website, you put up on your website, we are 100% transparent, and you're in your law firm, or you're a fintech, or you're whatever, right? Boy, people will trust you immediately, right? But of course, you have to commit fully. But those dishonest verticals, some of them I just mentioned, right? I mean, this opportunity can be a complete game changer, right? I don't think that transparency is just a big branding buzzword, right? Even though it is, right? It's a buzzword, but I know it can completely and positively transform a business from the ground up to generate increased sales and create a loyal following. The perfect example, Everlane, last when I checked, 2018 revenue was 200 million, right? Pretty decent. The last trait before we start chatting is solidarity, and I really enjoy this one. Solidarity. What if solidarity is actually bigger than the product or the offering that you serve? Who needs another fitness center that has the same treadmills and more of the same workouts? And no one, right? No one needs it, especially the like $9.99 a month or whatever the rate is these days, right? There are so many fitness centers. What is it with breweries and fitness centers, by the way? I guess they're everywhere. They go hand in hand. I guess you go to the brewery first, and then you need to go to the fitness center. But we don't need that anymore, right? No more microbreweries, no more fitness centers. We have enough, right? But it turns out that there were 10 million people who yet needed another chain of fitness centers. Meet Planet Fitness, a brand that you're all very familiar with, or at least you've seen their glaring hot pink neon signs around freeways in the US. They have close to 2,000 clubs today, and by today I mean pre-pandemic. So I don't know how they're doing right now, but 2,000 clubs, 10 million members. How does Planet Fitness differentiate? One way: they don't judge. Planet Fitness is a judgment-free zone. So that means that there are no critics allowed. So if you're in any way buff, you're actually not allowed. It's absolutely discriminating, and people wrote about it. So I think it's hilarious, right? And it's absolutely not for people who actually like working out, or who actually go and work out a lot. But if you're in any way overweight, you're welcome, right? If you're afraid of pushing the treadmill button because you think it's going to catapult you through the air, come on in, we'll show you how to use it. If you only show up once a month, don't worry. We don't judge, right? It's empathetic brand love based on solidarity. And this is a good place to remind you of what Planet Fitness understands so very, very well. They genuinely feel for the audience. It's not a campaign. It's not marketing, right? They understand that it's about the consumer, about the user, about the customer, about the client, right? Branding is not about us. It's about them, right? And empathy is the key to branding, and it's often the key to the growth of a company. And Planet Fitness understands that very well. This is how they actually walk the walk. This was a front desk at one of a Planet Fitness. They have done a bunch of those. This is not light cream cheese either, okay? This is the real deal. Sometimes it's donuts, sometimes it's bagels, sometimes it's just candy. They had a tweet a couple of years ago, and it read, "Why candy at the front desk? Because nothing brings people together like chocolate." Of course, we could debate if chocolate is candy, but that was the tweet that I thought it was awesome, right? So we're talking about a fitness center with 10 million members that go to work out to be healthier. And they have that at the front desk. And that is how you show your audience that you're not just faking it, right? Planet Fitness really means it when they say you belong. I know you actually want to drink a six-pack. You don't want a six-pack, right? You just want to get by. You just want to somewhat survive your next physical, right? And that's why you come here. And then this is for you. All right, what are the commandments? Well, find and wholeheartedly support the subgroup. Niche marketing is usually great. I'm a big fan. But when you add solidarity something amazing will happen, right? You can find a relatively small audience in a huge place like here in the US, and you have a tribe of millions, right? And you can actually become the niche leader overnight if you say and show your audience that I understand you, right? I'm with you all the way. Imagine what it would be like to convert an entire group without facing needless competition, and even doing so with no tech, no innovation necessary, right? Planet Fitness has 0 competitors in a field that is swamped with competition, where everyone races to the bottom, right? That's pretty amazing. They have the same old machines, the same old routines, yet they looked at an underserved group and they showed them solidarity and empathy. And that group ended up 10 million people strong, right? And obviously, everything you say, everything you do, you have to exemplify your tribe's values. You have to put the candy at the front desk, right? So these are the 8 brand traits I identified in my book, Bigger Than This. We talked about 6 of those. We talked about story, belief, cost, delight, transparency, and solidarity, heritage, and individuality. You can catch up on your own, since you will get a free copy of the book signed by yours truly, which of course the value of that alone, I mean, just imagine how that's going to go on eBay. Well, I don't know. I think I sign pretty much every book these days. Okay, so all of these companies that we talked about, all of these brands are non-innovative, non-tech based, selling commodity products and services. And all of them ask themselves, what's bigger than our product? And they let that question answer to the brand's DNA, which they had to uncover, right? So if you look at Planet Fitness, the brand DNA is solidarity. There's no other brand DNA. It's not inexpensive nationwide gym locations for all, right? That's not what it is. And I wholeheartedly believe that if these companies, which had nothing new to offer in a sea of sameness, but the genius brand thought, if they can do it, imagine what you can do, especially if you actually innovate, right? And if you actually already utilize technology to keep up with your audience's demands, and especially if you have already a secret sauce, and then you put 1 or 2 of these traits on top of it, pretty amazing things will happen. So in our time together so far, right, you have learned hopefully some tangible examples of what it takes to lead with heart and soul, right, as a brand. And I invite you to think about your brand's DNA, because I'm certain there is a lot that aches to be uncovered. And now you're for better or worse, you're the best person to actually define it. Here's a very simple positioning statement, but the way that it ends is critical, right? Because this here will help you uncover your brand's DNA. Take a quick screenshot of it, and really think about what is that why behind the company, because in that why is your DNA. As we all know, every company, right, regardless of size and legacy, regardless of heritage or Silicon Valley hype, right, every company is extremely vulnerable, right? We see multi-billion-dollar companies just go up in flames overnight. So forget the idea that there's anything that is safe about any company. But when you infuse heart and soul into your company, customers won't come for you to, just for one product or the other product, right? They won't come to you, God forbid, for you being cheaper, right? They won't come to you because of the one feature or the other feature, right? Because it's better or faster. No, they will come to you because they like you. Because if you have heart and soul as a brand, it becomes personable. You will become a part of the tribe, and they will be loyal and interact with you because of the trust that you have earned. And that, to me, is the power of these traits that I have shared with you. They're not philosophic brand banter, right? Or like fictitious advertising stories. Instead, they are what will make a company an admired brand while enriching it with this extra layer of security, right? Just to finish things off, here are my 4 brand babies, I call them. Hitting the Mark is a podcast that I push out every 3 weeks, and I talk about that intersection of brand thinking and brand clarity and startup success. And by startups, I mean I'm talking with founders, of JetBlue, Rotten Tomatoes, Liquid Death, Happy Socks, right? Like really amazing companies that are out there, and learning from them how all of that stuff I just told you about, how to utilize that to actually create amazing brands, to me is really fascinating. And here are the three books. The center book, Bigger Than This. You can get the free copy thanks to Craig and the team. If you go to brandtro.com, that's my publishing arm. Go to brandtro.com. Look for Bigger Than This. It's not going to take you long. I only have 3 books. All right, select Bigger Than This. It's going to be in your face, and use the code growth. Right. So you could just take a quick screenshot of that and do it later on. But I think I have 30 or 35 of them ready to go. So if you want to have a copy of that, I'm going to ship it out next week. This link will expire Sunday though, so do it in the next couple of days, hopefully right now. And that's it. And with that, I'm signing off here. Ways to get in touch with me or to be in touch with me.